Here we go, top of the hour. Thank you for being here. I'll share my screen and hoping all of you can see that now at this point. And great, good to have you. So, a few things that I wanted to talk about today. We don't have any JV partners on the line right now, although I wanted to let people know who are listening, watching this webinar. We have a couple of new people, actually two new areas. One guy with two different areas of expertise, and it might be wise for me to show you how one thing sort of evolved and how another thing sort of ended. So one of the things that is always important when trying to find an information marketing niche is that you have a sufficiently large enough population of people who would be interested in the topic and who would be willing to buy things related to it, and that you also don't have too big a niche to make it sort of unwieldy. So as more and more people join the webinar here, I just want to give you some examples, or this particular example, to show you. And I see Avish is about to join us here, and as soon as he gets on, I will include him more. So let me just back up until I see that he's got audio going here. And it'll be... Avish, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Good. I was just about to get started, and I was telling people that I was going to give an example of my most recent JV partner that just joined the group last week, or actually, yeah, last week. And two very interesting niches that that I wanted to explain to people sort of how it worked. Was talking about the idea of there needing to be a sufficient number of people, but not too many people. So here's the one. I think we talked about this a little bit last week. The concept of spasmodic dysphonia. Boy, I'm getting into some really fancy stuff here. Spasmodic dysphonia is an affliction, a condition that affects people, oftentimes, you know, into their 20s and 30s. I'm not sure exactly when it has, but it's a condition that makes someone unable to speak in their normal tone, their normal voice, and they end up having to speak in a very, very pushed whisper. There are two types of this, and I met a guy who has this condition, and he and I are going to be working on a site for this, but we met while playing poker. So we're working on two things together, poker and spasmodic dysphonia. Spasmodic dysphonia, as I think I talked about last time, has about somewhere in the neighborhood of 75,000 people in the U.S., and since we have a global market with the internet, that means if you took, you know, 350 million, I think, or whatever we are, and you translated it out, let's just say there are probably, I don't know, at least, 250,000 potential English speakers who might have this condition. That's sort of a guess. That may be wrong, but let's just say it's somewhere in the neighborhood of between 150, 250,000, somewhere in there. Large enough to make it attractive, yet small enough that we don't have a lot of competitors. So one of the first things that I did was I found out that there was an association related to this condition, to this niche, or in this case, a condition. And what I did was I sort of looked around on their site and figured out that there are a lot of people who are frustrated. So what I asked Greg to do, and it's Greg who's going to be working with me on these two niches, I asked him to put together, and this, by the way, I was helped quite a bit by my buddy David Oliver over at Bipolar Central. So let me just show you, in fact, that site, and let me just put it in here, Bipolar Central. And so what I did is we got David on the phone, and we asked him, I said, hey, David, look, this is a very similar kind of site to what we're going to be doing. And I said, do you mind if we basically sort of copy what you're doing? And he said, yeah, sure, go ahead. First thing I asked him was, did you intentionally make your site sort of very basic and not very fancy? And he said, yeah, we did initially, but we're going to be changing that. So Stanley, when he puts together, as he's on the webinar now, as he puts this together, we're not trying to make it look sort of this basic, but we do want to make it look fairly basic. And again, since we're working in the medical area, I guess the best place to go is a place like WebMD. And what we're wanting to do, Stanley, is to come up with something clean like this where we would put the banner in this area and do everything else here. So this is kind of the site that we're going to model within reason. It doesn't have to be exactly like this. And Stanley is my webmaster who's on the line on the webinar right now. So we want to create a very simple, easy to follow, very clean looking template. It's a medically associated thing. And then what I asked Greg to do is to put together, I asked him what are the, let me move this to the center here, the biggest questions and or issues that people with, and I'll just call it SD, have. And so he's putting that list together. And one of the things is that they found, for example, and this is a commonly used treatment for the condition, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, is they sometimes inject Botox into various places in the neck going towards the vocal cords to try and correct the condition. In some cases it's worked, in some cases it hasn't, but that's an example of something that everybody in that area or who has that affliction would know about. So that would obviously be one of the things we'd probably want to put somewhere, across the top here or whatever. So there'd be things like that. Now, we're also working on the poker site, and the poker site, on the other hand, is a very, very big niche. In fact, if we go to, and just to show you how I did this, when he was here, I went to the Google external keyword tool, and let's pull that up here. By the way, all these webinars are recorded, so you can always go back and review them and review others that you haven't. Let me sign in here. Let's see here. Okay. So, poker. Take a look at this. Avish, you'll be fascinated to see this.
Mm-hmm.
Poker. How many total people interested? 30,400,000 worldwide. As opposed to spasmodic dysphonia. Okay, so we got 30 million versus 9,900. Very, very different niches. What that tells us is that the poker niche, in order to be successful, must be smalled down. Okay, and what that means is we need to sort of create a niche, a sub-niche within the category that is sufficiently small. So what we did is poker has different aspects to it. There are people who play poker and they play tournament poker, and that's where you pay a flat fee and then whoever gets to the final table, then they win and that kind of thing. Or you also have cash games. And cash games are people just playing to, make money or lose money, whatever it is. So we chose this area of cash games, and specifically, we're going to try and show people, our target is to show people how to make $200 a day playing poker. Now, we're not trying to tell you you're going to get rich, but we're trying to tell people, hey, there's a way that you can actually make enough money, depending on your expenses, that you might actually be able to survive playing poker. And so this is our niche here. And so Stanley is diligently working on, because the first thing that we needed to do is for both spasmodic dysphonia here and for poker here, we needed to get, in order to get going, we needed to get some banners related to these two topics. So a banner is what goes across the page. So as an example here, when Stanley put up and helped me with iWriteYourBook.com, I asked him to put up a banner that sort of indicated an idea all the way over to a set of books, which, by the way, I've still not yet recorded that video, which I should have. I feel bad now. But Stanley's going to come up with something similar, a banner probably the same size. And Stanley, what we should probably do, I think this banner is a little bit too thick. Let's make it a little bit thinner because it's taking up a little bit too much space above the fold. I like the idea of having maybe a little bit thinner, maybe just to as far as where this gray line is. So we can cut the number of pixels to there, especially for, well, for both of these niches, I think. So let's cut it down about maybe cut about 1/4 of it off, I think, maybe. So down to about here. Um, I just think it'll make it a little bit easier to put it together. So what we're looking for then is the first thing we did is figure out what the niche was, whether or not there were people looking for it. And by the way, one of the other things, if you're doing your research, first thing I did was I put in spasmodic dysphonia, and here notice you see it come up as treatment, Botox, so that is, but there's an association also, and it's dysphonia.org. So this will be one of the resources where, and there are two types, as it turns out. There's abductor and there's adductor types of spasmodic dysphonia. Those are the two, and one of them is a lot more treatable than any other. But one of the things is this is going to be one of the places, one of the resources that I'm going to go. So anybody, if you're thinking of getting into starting a niche, expanding a niche, first thing you want to do is try and find out if there's an association out there that'll help you. Now, for poker, there actually might be a poker association. Let me just see. I'm sure there is. Yeah, the National Poker Association. That's kind of fun. The World Poker Association. There you go. So again, this would be a place is to start with the associations and see if you can get various kinds of information that you need from them, possibly find experts, etc., etc. So Avish, what I'm trying to do here is to figure out, okay, so what are we going to do next? Well, obviously, with spasmodic dysphonia, one of the things he's already started, and I think I showed a couple of these last time on YouTube, Greg already started recording some videos for YouTube, and that's Greg right there. And I think I showed this. Now it has 22,000 views, which lets you know. Now, again, here's spasmodic dysphonia, and here's Botox treatment injection, 83,000 views. But there does seem to be a certain number of people that are interested in the area. So we know there's, again, it's not a huge niche, but we don't need it to be a huge niche because I was asking David, and I don't know if he wants me to share these numbers, but he's got under 500,000 opt-ins for bipolar. And, obviously we will have much less than that for spasmodic dysphonia. But one of the things was I think that it became obvious to me, and this is one of the things about working with somebody who's going to be a partner. One of the reasons why I felt comfortable working with Greg and getting together with him is that he's also a guy that started taking jiu-jitsu about 9 months ago. And I said to him, so what are your plans for jiu-jitsu? And he says, well, I want to eventually become a black belt. And I said, oh, really? Well, how long will that take? And he said, well, depending on who you go to, different teachers will, some of them are pretty, they just accelerate you so you have a black belt when really legitimately shouldn't. But the guy I'm working with is the other side of the spectrum. He's a really tough teacher, so it'll probably take me about 10 years. I said, so are you committed to doing that? He says, oh, yeah, that's okay. I can do that. So it gave me an understanding that he was a long view kind of person and therefore would be somebody that I'd want to work with because, again, a lot of the things that you do in information marketing require a fair amount of work and they don't make money necessarily right away. And that's one of the things that's important. So we came up with the poker, the cash games, and again, just to show you that, I think it might be instructive to see here. Let me just go back and see if I can find my Google keyword research tool here. Let's see here. One more back, I think. Yeah. Okay, so in researching for the poker, so poker, we came up poker cash game. So poker cash game, because we're within the poker niche and wanting to small it down a little bit. So here is, we came up low competition, as you can see, 18,100 searches. Avish, makes sense why I'm doing this?
Yep.
So what we came up with for that site is, and let me just make sure that I've got it right, and Stanley, you could probably help me on this as well. Let me just see Stanley. Send me something here. Stanley, I think we use the term, I think we're using poker cash game guru. Let me just check here. I think that's right. So poker cashgameguru.com. Now, the problem that we have, yeah, apparently that's right. So Stanley just cloned another site on there just to get it going. And so Poker Cash Game Guru is going to be the site name that we're going to use, and the banner is going to say something like how to make $200 plus per day playing cash games. Playing cash games in a casino. Now, this is not geared to playing online. So again, we've further broken down poker because there are two categories there. There are people who play a lot online. There are people who play a lot in casinos. And so we're gearing this specifically. Now, the problem here is, and Navish, let me see if you can discover what my problem is working on this project with Greg.
Your target market would be limited to people who are near a casino.
That's part of it. What else about producing a product with Greg might be an issue? His vocal condition.
Oh, that, yeah.
Making it so that what's going to happen is he's going to come up with the theory and the concepts, and I'm going to serve as the mouthpiece so that whenever we have to go over things, I'm going to be voicing it, and he's going to be giving me the information to voice. So I'm going to be the, almost like the Bill DeWeese, the person who is, basically the voiceover person. He's going to be giving me the concepts, and I'm just going to be conveying them. So this is a very, this is different than what I've done before because I'm trying to talk about something that really isn't my area of expertise. I'm just sort of being coached, and I'm the mouthpiece to do that. It's sort of like a politician, actually, to be honest. So what we're going to do here is put that together. But again, we're going after a very specific group, and as people who want to make $200 a day, we're not making any outlandish claims. $200 plus per day playing cash games in a casino. So we've narrowed the focus, and that allows us to target the group. And let's just take a look here and see if by narrowing that, we've made it so that we hardly have anyone. Poker, cash, game, casino. Let's just put. So again, casinos, now that's down to 260. That might be people looking to see whether a certain casino has a cash game, whatever, but we're making the niche small enough. And again, my goal, and Greg is okay with this, is for each of these niches, and I think that both spasmodic dysphonia and poker have the ability to maybe create at least $1,000 to $2,000 conservatively per month for both of us, which would mean we're probably generating, someplace around, after expenses, $4,500 total revenue for each site monthly. And again, this is, not trying to hit home runs here, folks, just trying to hit singles, trying to make it so that we could generate a bit of revenue for each of these areas. And
so what format and everything were you thinking of for the poker one? Was that just going to be an audio interview type thing, or was that going to be like a video thing? What were you seeing for that one?
What I'm seeing for that is, I think that, when I have watched other poker training videos, most of the ways they do it I don't like because they give you these really small computer-generated card dealer things that are hard to read and see. So what we would do is we would come up with, and I was actually looking for stock photo images, and I went to a site, and I think I just put in let's see, now I'm coming up with it, two-hand card pictures stock pictures. Because what I'm looking for is to get a hold of every possible combination for playing card, obviously. Playing card stock picks. So what I'm looking for here is to find, and I don't know, I'll probably have to go to a stock photo place. But what I want to find is I want to find images, because when you're playing, and in fact we're getting even more specific, when we're talking about playing a specific brand of poker called Texas Hold'em, there are 2 cards that we want to show. Now, eventually, we're going to want to show 3 cards on the board. So the images we want is we need 2 cards, all combinations. And then we're going to have 3 cards, various examples. Okay, so, and actually no, 3, and then 4, and then 5, because you've got the flop, the turn, the river. All of those we're going to show. And what I want to have is different visual pictures that we show. And so, Avish, what it would be is, Greg would come over here. He has now come up with a whole bunch of topics for poker that we have to discuss. He's been brainstorming them. We have about 30 right now, and they have to do with such things as, and this will, for those of you who aren't familiar with poker, don't worry about this. Pre-flop strategies, post-flop. We've got selecting a venue, like where do you play, assessing opponents, and we came up with a wagering strategy, money management, all of these things, and we came up with about 30 so far. So what we're going to do is produce videos on, and that I'm going to use similar to what I do here with the webinars. We're going to record. He's going to come up with these presentations, sort of a PowerPoint-y kind of thing. I'm going to be doing the voice. I'm going to be telling people about it, and these videos. I see there will be eventually like somewhere between 30 to 50 videos, anywhere in length from 5 to 20 minutes. And so that's what it looks like. Does that make sense, Avish?
Yeah.
And what we're going to try and do is give people the biggest problem with any kind of a system, whether it's poker or anything you do, is people need, a lot of people, me included, like when I got together with him, I said, hey, look, I want you to sort of coach me on my poker game as well. And he said, I'll be happy to do so. And so one of the things you want to do is, especially when somebody's starting out, think about this for speaking, Avish, or improv. When someone's first starting something out, they need a lot of rules. They want to know, okay, what are the rules? And I'll follow the rules. Probably not true of improv because it's sort of non-rule oriented. But in most cases, when people start anything, they need the rules. But as they get better and better and better, then they can start improving and they don't need as many rules. But when you get started, people want to know, with this specific hand, should I stay in? Should I fold? Should I bet? Should I call? Should I raise? All of those things. And they want to have, and in poker, you have 10 positions at the table. And so what we're coming up with is strategies for people, pre-flop, post-flop, all those things, based on their position, and giving them ideas on wagering, et cetera, et cetera. So does that make sense, Avish?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So we are creating a whole series, and starting tomorrow, I'm recording a program that everybody will get a solicitation on traffic. Because as we know, you have to have a great product, you have to have a great site to sell it, you've got to have traffic, and you've got to be able to convert those people. So those are the top three there. You have to have a good product, you have to have a good conversion mechanism. So one of the things we're going to be doing with both of these sites, and as you can see we already sort of started that, is at Poker, no, that's not it, that's a site I was looking at, Poker Cash Game Guru.com. What Stanley has set up is a template for, we're going to have a video here, and that video is going to probably be me saying, hey, a lot of people will tell you about how you can make $1 million a day doing something. This isn't about that. This is about how to pay your utility bills and how to pay your rent and your mortgage, playing poker, making $200 plus a day. So, and again, I sent Stanley some directions on an image that I wanted him to create, which said, and Avish, maybe you can sort of help me and brainstorm this one as well. So what I said was, and again, this is the image for poker. So image for the banner, and I had Avish on the far left, sort of over here, there would be, a hand, a spread out hand, 5 cards held in somebody's hand, and maybe a couple of, arrows or something connoting that over here on the far right side, there were some stacks of cash. So the whole idea is from this to that. But again, I'm open. Avish, any other ideas other than that?
No, I mean, unless you want to throw some chips in there, because that's such a casino thing. But I mean, I think
chips,
cash
good
and
idea.
chips will be fine.
And maybe what happens is, the chips sort of go from left to right in terms of smaller stack and larger stack. So you'd have a person's hand over here and a small stack of casino chips here, slightly bigger stack here, slightly bigger stack here, slightly bigger stack here, and here, and then over here is they cash out with a bunch of cash.
Mm-hmm.
Genius.
Yeah, I think that'll be good.
I think it's genius.
It is genius.
Write it up. Take it to the bank. So again, Stanley, that might help to give you some ideas there. And I think that way we're giving a visual indication of what this is all about. Then, of course, when people go to the site, our goal here, remember, when people come to a site like this, our primary goal is to sell them something. But that's our primary, right? That's the primary or the main goal. The secondary is to get them to opt into our list. That's the secondary goal, or the secondary goal. Because after we get them to opt in, then what are we trying to do? Is loop them back into buying something. So we're trying to first get them to buy. If they won't buy, we get them to opt in. After they opt in, we send them some great stuff, showing them how what geniuses we are. And then eventually they buy something from us. And after they buy something, then our goal is to get them to buy more and buy everything we've got. So that's what we're structuring right here. And again, those are 2 good examples, I think, of 2 different niches and how we're going to be going about this. Now the question then becomes, this site for poker, the poker site will be very different than the SD or spasmodic dysphonia site, because the poker site is going to be much more of your traditional sales site, whereas the SD site is going to be much more of the web MD kind of a thing. And possibly the SD site is going to be a site that makes its revenue primarily from advertising, where this one is going to be primarily from info products, because it's 2 very different kinds of niches. So the question would be why? Well, this poker, there are a lot of poker products already out on the market. This is something that lends itself to the creation of products. And what we're going to do is, again, after we brainstorm all those topics, we're going to put them into categories. And this is how it's going to work. So we're going to have all the various categories, and let's just say there are 30 categories for the poker site. So we put them into, make it 26, so it's A through Z. So you have an A, and that's going to be at the top of the page, and it's going to say pre-flop strategies or whatever it is. That's, it's not going to say A, but it's going to say pre-flop strategies, and then we will have a video, and that video will give people everything and maybe there are 3 parts to that video. So we're going to have it up there, part 1, part 2, part 3, and that page is going to be protected with a wish list protection for that page, and people will be able to access either all or part of these videos for 1 flat fee. Now, we're not sure how to do that yet, but that's basically what we're doing. And the reason why, Avish, you can chime in here, why are we putting it up online and not selling products and then having them get shipped or whatever to them?
Well, that way you don't have to deal with, it's a whole headache of stuff you don't have to deal with.
Yep, so we have no fulfillment issues. Yeah, so that's part of the deal. And so that's where we're going. So now, Avish, let's talk a little bit. I know you've been distracted by the upcoming nuptials, but what's going on here?
Oh, well, there's not much new with the site. Kind of behind the scenes, I'm working. We talked last time I was on the webinar. We talked about putting some small products together. So, put a few outlines together for products that are going to be kind of audio with kind of a guided workbook type product. So really how to apply, the 3 different ways I add humor to a story. So it's going to be 3 different products, each one about how to add humor, make your story funnier.
Uh-huh.
Our idea being that it'll be a good, single problem product at a low price point, just to start getting some people solving their one problem and getting them buying.
Let's talk about that for a second. How long do you? This is going to be 3 parts, right?
Well, there's going to be. Right now, I'm seeing it as 3 completely separate products.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Each
let's
one.
do product. So they're all on humor, but we'll call it humor 1, humor 2, and humor 3, right?
Yeah, and each one, they'll be called, I think, volume 1, 2, and 3 or whatever, but any one could be used independently to be designed as its own standalone product.
And all of these you think will be similar in length?
I think so. They all have 9 or 10 steps, a little bit of initial information, a little bit of follow-up information. So.
Okay, and give me an idea of how long do you think the audios will be?
Well, I'm verbose, so I'm really hoping to keep it to under an hour. I think for this kind of thing, shorter would be better. And it's supposed to be very workbook-oriented, so, the product is designed to be like, all right, here's the info you need, now go do it. So not like, let me just give you 7 hours of content, but rather, here's 10 minutes of information, now go do the exercise.
Okay, so then give me an idea of what you think. Just guessing on a price point, what do you think we'd throw out for this one?
I was thinking, my initial going into this was to put together a $17 product.
That's what I was guessing too, and I like that. At $17, it's really, really, that seems to me now. And again, if they get humor 1, 2, and 3, they can get them all for $47. Actually, that's not that big a discount. That's only $51, right? Make them all for maybe $37. The package price.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like this. And now, so what this requires me to do, if I'm learning it, is to have my PDF file opened while I go through the audio program. Is that it?
Yep.
Okay, and let me just get a little poll from the group here. Everybody who's on the webinar, in your questions and answer area there, how do you like the idea of having a 60-minute or so audio to go along with some kind of a PDF? And how long would that PDF be?
There'd be some blank spaces if people want to print it out, so I'm guessing, anywhere from 20 to 30 pages.
Per product?
I would think so, but
Wow.
I could be wrong. I don't know. I did a product like this before, but that came out to like a 2-hour audio and a 47-page ebook, so I guess this would be about half that.
Okay, so then the first question I want to ask the group is, number one, could everybody respond? If you were learning something like a topic like this, how to use humor in a presentation, if you got a 60-minute audio along with this, let's just say a 20-page, sort of fill-in-the-blank kind of workbook, is that it?
Yeah.
Okay.
There'll be some content, but a lot of space.
How does everybody like that? On a scale of 1 to 10, give me a number, 1 meaning terrible, 10 meaning great. So $17, 1 terrible, 10 great. So everybody answer in the question area. 7 there, I see. Everybody else chime in here. Just give me a number. 7, 7, 9 from Ken. 7 from Steve. Audio makes it work. 8.5 from Richard. Ron says 7 to 8. So I'm getting the feel. Thanks, guys. I'm getting the feel that people. George says 8 to 9, but it's a bargain at that price. Other people chiming in here as well. Great. I think that it really. It sounds to me like, at least from what we've moderately crowdsourced here, that it's something good. So I think it's a good idea. So yeah, I like it. My gut was, I don't know if I would, and this is a great example, everybody, of how, I don't know if I would do this or I would prefer to learn this way, but I think that a lot of others would, depending on the topic, and maybe that's what we need for poker too. Who knows? But
I think this is this is less about learning a skill. When I'm creating this product around, more about a finished product. I think poker's more. It's hard to take someone step by step through like a workbook for poker, but I think for this, it's like, here's your story, boom, 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 plus there'll be examples, and at the end of it, here's what you get. So I think like you said, it depends on the content, the format.
You say that, but yet I think that for people who are just starting out playing poker, they need to be given some very rigid rules. And I actually think that this kind of concept would work for them as well. So let's talk a little bit about the how-to of this. So obviously recording the audio, fairly straightforward, into an audio recording device or onto your computer. And what about producing the, are you going to just do it in Word and then port it over to PDF?
Yep.
Going to try and make it fancy at all in terms of the PDF, or just a standard Word document?
Standard Word document, I may do a little bit of formatting on the headings, like instead of just being straight text, I may put a box around them and some shading, but, nothing too crazy. If I feel really ambitious, I may, give it to Amanda. She likes to do that, but
I'll tell you what,
being necessary.
If you want to give it to Amanda or Stanley, who's listening, and maybe Amanda probably, since she may take a stab at this, what would be nice is to have Amanda create a template that all of us could use for this kind of a thing. That would be great, because then we take, she could just create a Word document, all of us could use it, and, again, naturally have to pay her a licensing fee. Given that she's...
Yeah, I'll talk about it. The problem with that is if she does the formatting, she's not going to do it in Word. She uses, like, one of the Apple products. In Studio or InDesign, I think, something like that. I don't know which one.
Got it. Well, maybe what we could do is, if you... and since I'm going to do this for poker as well, I may ask Stanley to help on this one also, which is, Stanley, what we're trying to do is to develop sort of a standard templated, and again, very simple. Maybe what I'll do is I will give him my ideas, and Avish, if you could send me sort of your ideas, in any kind of a Word document or whatever, of what you think. Obviously, we want to have the front cover be something, then every section have a certain, just if you could sort of mock it out on paper, or even with a pen and pencil, and scan it in. I'd like to see what your idea was, because I think it's a good idea, but I like the idea, for me at least, of having some kind of a standard Microsoft Word, or in my case, I'm going to put it into Pages for the Mac, something very, very simple that I can use again and again.
Yeah, what I'll do is I can send you, like, I created a similar type product a couple of years ago, and I was going to use that PDF.
Do you have one on your desktop you can show?
Let me see. I can open it up here if I can.
Just tell me when you do, and I'll share the screen.
Yeah, let's see. Okay, yeah, so I got it up here.
Okay, now when I tell you to do this, I'm going to have to resize this, so I'll tell you when to go, okay? After I give you the thing. Okay, yeah. So now you're going to have the controls, but don't go until I resize the...
Okay, should I click show my screen now?
Hold on. You know what? Let me... Yeah, show my screen, please. 1 second, folks. Okay, now I'm going to have to size this down, so don't start talking until I resize it, if I can here. Holy crap. Hold on. Okay, let's see here. Whoops. Yeah, okay, go ahead now. Show it.
Okay, can you see my screen?
I can.
Okay. So this is the PDF. This is just page one. This was a Fiverr cover. And then, just some basic formatting stuff. So here you can see the heading is just, instead of just being straight text, that was very easy to do. Put the footer with the line and the website, the header with the line and the topic name, and then, little things here, just, indented a paragraph for the stuff that needs to be emphasized. So real simple. Let me see if I can get down to the...
Could you forward a copy of that to Stanley?
Yeah, let me see if I can dig up the Word file. That'd probably be easier, because then he can have the one he wants to.
Yeah, and then you could send it to me too, and I can actually convert it to Pages, but because I've got to work in Pages.
Yeah, I'll send it to both of you.
It'd be great.
So yeah, I mean it's pretty basic, right? It's a basic Word document, and then here I put in a lot of. Here's where some of the fill in the blank type stuff is, and that's the format. Sounds
good. Let me retake the screen here. Okay. Okay, can you see my screen again?
Not yet. I just see there it is. Okay, I got it now.
Okay, so I think that everybody gets it, that what we're looking for is something that we don't have to spend a whole lot of time, effort, or energy on doing this, especially at the $17 price point. But I think that, with that nice Fiverr cover. Now, again, on Fiverr, you had that cover done. Did you get two of those for $5 or one of them for $5?
The person who did that one, it was just one.
Yeah. So $5 looked pretty darn good, to be honest.
Yeah, it was okay. I think some of the other work I've gotten, I've liked more, but that's certainly.
How about this image here? Was this Fiverr also? Six-figure speaker secrets?
Yes, that was Fiverr.
Yeah, I mean, you can get some decent looking stuff from Fiverr, and again, it's great. It's cheap.
Now, the ones you've used for Fiverr for images, for book covers and things, have you sent them the picture?
No. Here's what I did. Let's go to where that is. Virtually a lot of these, almost all of these images from my under $5 items here. Not some of these top images. These are not ones that were Fiverr. The Fiverr ones start here under articles. So all of these images under articles were done. I got two of these for $5. So all of these were done, two for $5 here. So, that was, and no, I did not send them any photos.
That would be helpful, because the ones I've used, they ask for a photo. I mean, I guess I could just say to them I don't have one, just find one, and they'll do it, but because that's always been a pain for me, so if they can do it themselves, that'd be great.
Yeah, the guys that I've been working with at Fiverr have been pretty good about that. And some of them are just text, like this blogging for maximum profit one. But some of these other ones, I mean, they're really good, like this, how to create a killer video product. That's perfect. This one looks very sort of that old picture that they had of Obama in that Hope poster kind of thing. That's kind of wild. But, I mean, these are good. I'm happy with these.
Yeah.
And speaking of which, I continue to generate now, a regular, it's gone down a little bit this month, but that may be June. But I'm continuing to generate. Again, remember, folks, my goal is pretty, I have a pretty direct, straightforward goal, which is 100, as Avish calls it, Gleeconomics, 100 checks per month from 100 different sources. And so I don't really care. I don't need huge checks. But coming from Kindle now, I'm doing, at least 500 per month. And, after a while, you do a bunch of those, that gets to be real money. And so I'm happy with that. The numbers have dropped a little bit, but again, I'm happy to show everybody my actual numbers. This is my actual account, as opposed to some people who do these kinds of events who claim you're going to make $1 million. We're all reality-based thinking here. You'll notice that I have about 30 or so. But all of my pricing, you better keep your pricing between $2.99 and $9.99. I only have one item. And Stanley, have we figured out yet why this marketing and promoting your own seminar workshops is still in review? I don't know what's going on there. It's been in review for a long time. Maybe they thought we were giving it away or something, and we may have to write them a note. But these guys are, sometimes they can be pains in the butt to deal with. So there's only one item on here that is $4.99, and that's this one here. Sell Your Brain Power is $4.99. And I also, I might want to do some price testing and take this one from $4.99 and drop it down to $2.99 or C. But everything is between $2.99 and $9.99. And right now, let me just show you the reports. It's towards the end of the month here, so month-to-date sales. Here's all my sales. One of the things I'm proudest of, Avish, if you look down, here's my net units sold. You see this column right here with the 7 on top?
Hold on, a little behind you. Oh, there you go.
Yep,
now I see it.
Okay. The thing that I'm proudest of is, oh man, I just noticed another one. I've only had 2 returns this month. Somebody claiming they weren't happy. And there's a total, when you total up all these numbers, it comes out to about 200 units right now. So out of 200, so I'm getting about a 1% rate of return, which to me, at least just in my gut, sounds good, because I think it's good. I don't know. I can't compare it to anyone. God forbid they would actually let us know what the averages were. But this is, so everything that I'm doing is revolving around trying to find 100 checks a month from 100 different sources. So when I do a JV with this person or that person, what I'm looking for is ongoing revenue, which, by the way, just to let you know, Bill isn't on the call, but I don't think I'm speaking out of school. Bill DeWeese, I think that my check from him this month will be close. He'll be sending me a check of close to $2,000, and this is the beginning of the process for Bill. So, and I think that Avish, I think a lot of this has to do with the specificity of his niche, and the number of people who are interested in that process. Although he tells me that his number right now is he has, I don't know if you remember this from last time, just under 1,000 opt-ins.
And is that 2,000 from his video product sales, or is that including? Has he done like a seminar or something?
This particular one this month is strictly product sales.
That's impressive.
It is, and with only 1,000 opt-ins. So now the thing I told him to do, and if he were on the webinar, I would tell him, but we talk about it separately, which is he has a really high ratio of, his dollars per person ratio is very high. So in general, people, I always tell, as you've heard me say before, you can expect your opt-in list to be worth between a dime and $1 per person per month. So if we look at Bill's number here, let's just say it's 1,000 opt-ins. He generated around $2,000. This is in a month. So he's at $2 per person per month right now. Now, that's very high. So I think trying to work on the number of, the amount per person isn't something that needs work. What we do need work on is increasing the number of opt-ins, and also, which is one of the things that I sort of asked him to look at here, here's a good one for you, Avish. Out of 1,000 people who have opted in, what percentage of those people do you think has bought anything?
Based on how it sounded, like 10%?
You know what? I think it's just under that. So let's assume it's 10%. So 10% have bought something. That means that 90% have bought nothing. So one of the things, although he's doing stellar numbers, we do have an opportunity here, which is to try and find a way to get this 90% to pull out their wallet and give us some money. And the problem, if you want to call it that, has been that we haven't had any lower price pointed products like, with Speaking Expert Avish. So I think that the thing that he's doing right now is Bill is coming up with this thing called the 100 questions everyone in the voiceover business wants to know. And he's going to be recording those, and what we're going to do is we're going to sell that for maybe $77, but we're also going to do the top 10 questions answered or whatever, and sell that for $17. So what we want to try and do is, if you've got 90% of the people on your list who have bought nothing, your first step is to get them to buy something, even if it's something for $1. Something that requires them to open up their wallet, pull out their credit card, and give you some money. It doesn't have to be a lot of money, but there's a huge chasm between people who haven't bought or haven't spent a dime with you and those who have spent $2. It's a big, big thing because it's the difference between pulling out your credit card and not pulling out your credit card. So Bill is going to be working on coming up with lower price products, as are you, Avish, with this thing. Yeah. Now, by the way, in terms of without putting any pressure on you, given everything that's going on, what's your time frame for completion?
Well, I'd like to say 2 weeks, because if it doesn't get done in 2 weeks, it probably won't get done for like a month and a half.
Yeah, do it. Get them done in 2 weeks. I'd love to see how that comes out. So you're planning on getting those humor 1, 2, and 3s out by then, right?
Yeah, or at least one. Get the first one out.
He's hedging now, folks.
That's right.
So, yeah. So another, and by the way, just out of curiosity, let's take a poll of the group here. Humor 1. What's the topic? Give me one.
I haven't figured out the subtitle yet. The first one really is about just how to use your creativity to generate content, humorous content.
To generate humorous content. Okay, what's number 2?
It's how to use emotions to make it funny.
And what's number 3?
How to use physicality to make it funny.
How to use physicality. Okay, let's ask the group again here. I want everybody to vote. If you had to vote on either 1, 2, or 3, let me give you the 1, 2, and 3 again. Number 1 is how to use your creativity to generate humorous content, how to use emotions to make things funny, or 3, how to use physicality to make things funny. Could everybody put in their vote? Which one would you be most apt to buy? 1, 2, or 3? So 1 is creativity to generate humorous content, 2 is how to use emotions, and 3 is how to use physicality. So give us your votes. I see Richard just says 1, a vote for 1. 1, 1. Anybody else? 2, 1 of the number 2s, 1, 3. I think seeing the others. So I'm seeing a preponderance, more 1s than I am anything else at this point. So this one looks like what you should do first. Was that probably what you were going to do?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Well, that confirms what the group is saying as well. Well, that's good. So I'm looking forward to having those done. Actually, I'm looking forward to having all 3 done. So let's end on that note. Good place to end. I want to thank everybody for being on the webinar. I particularly want to thank Stanley and Avish for being here. And thank you all for your time. We do these every week. If you want to see the replays, go to the webinar. Go to my site and click on webinars.